going to show you how I painted this. This painting is extra special. I'm making it as a gift for one of my young art students, Matilda, who's currently in hospital and unable to get out and about. More on that later. Let's get started.
Before I start anything else, I adjust the reference photo using Snapseed to lighten the shadows and add brightness and a little bit more definition. I always use gesso even on a pre-primed canvas because it gives me a smoother surface. Gesso straight from the tub is usually too thick for my liking, so I add a little bit of water which makes it easier to brush onto the canvas.
I'm going to make a confession now. I don't always do sketches, but it was something to do while the gesso was drying, so why not? There are several ways to transfer your reference image onto your canvas. The way I'm going to show you here is using a grid, and I'm creating the grid over the top of the reference photo in Procreate. To make drawing the grid on the canvas easy, I'm using 1-inch squares, and the canvas is 12 by 12, so we've got 12 squares across and 12 squares down. This is my third coat of gesso going on after each other layer has dried. The recommendation is to sand in between, but I don't like sanding, so I have not done that.
You also want to pay attention to where the little folds are on the corners, right here. And you should probably open a window. It's a good idea to open a window. Now I've got some leftover gesso in here, which I'm going to do my best to make use of. So I've got a homemade book that I do painting in, and some pages that I can paint on. So the gesso's going on these. La la la. What do you think, Hopper? It's good fun, isn't it, Hopper?
I just want to pause to share why this painting means so much and why I've been making this video. It's for my student Matilda, who became interested in art when she was receiving treatment in a children's hospital. In 2024, she was diagnosed with cancer. There was a tumour on her spine. She has since recovered but is currently back in hospital with health issues. Her family has faced what they describe as a soul-shattering time because all three girls have had devastating diagnoses. If you've been enjoying this video so far and would like to support the family, there's a GoFundMe link in the description. Now that the gesso's all complete and dry, it's time to hide the white, and I'm using this gorgeous magenta. The paint I chose is a Matisse structure paint, which is quite a heavy body one, so I'm using a flow medium just to thin it out a little bit and make it flow a little bit better, which is probably why it's called flow medium. I give it a good mix with a palette knife. I don't use a brush because the bristles would all get clogged and that would be annoying. One tip I found really helps is to not have a completely dry brush before I start, so I dip it into water and then I wipe off the excess.
Holy guacamole! Look at that colour. Woohoo, the paint's dry. It's a bit gorgeous. I could leave it like that, to be honest. So the next step is to put 1-inch squares across the whole canvas. I've got my ruler and I've got a coloured pencil. I'm using a dark indigo coloured pencil because I find that graphite does sometimes rub off and make a little bit of a mess when you start painting. So let's go.
These are the colours I chose: titanium white, yellow mid-azo, Prussian blue, magenta, burnt sienna and brown earth. Did you notice there's no black in that selection, even though we're painting a black dog? That's because I mix the Prussian blue and the brown earth to make a lovely black colour. If you ever get frustrated because your paint dries out too quickly, this is a really good system. You can put the lid on and you can use your paint for ages. I find it satisfying to paint the eyes quite early on, not as detailed as they will end up, but just to get them in there so the dog doesn't look really spooky and weird. And this main part is to cover up the pink now. I like to let little bits of it show through as well.
I'm being cautious mixing the background colour. I'm using a jar so that I can mix a lot of paint and then I can do 2 layers without running out. Raising the painting up away from the table means that I can easily paint the sides as well without getting paint all over the worktop.
I now have my painting and a reference picture side by side, just so I can have a look at what I need to do next. There honestly isn't all that much left to do. So this ear I'm happy with. I don't really think it needs much more doing, if at all anything. I can see a little bit of pink coming through. I quite like that. The eyes need more detail, and the nose. This eye has been very difficult because you can't actually see the eye itself. It's a lot of reflection in this picture, and I lost a lot of the highlights on the dog when I did the last layer of paint, so I need to just bring those back, give a little bit more life to the gingery parts of the doggy, and some more highlights over here. Although if I do that, then the face won't stand out as much, so I just need to fix a few bits on this. Let's get started painting again.
Because I want the circles in the background to be quite neat, I'm making a stencil and I'm using a paper shopping bag.
is the final painting. The painting part is all done, but I can't call it finished yet. There are 3 more stages. I need to attach something on the back because it won't hang on a wall without anything like that. It needs a couple of coats of varnish for protection, and before I do that I want to take some photographs of it with my best quality camera. This is so that in future, if I want to make prints out of it, I've got the images there to do that. There are several options for stringing a painting. You could put just one D-ring in the middle. That is going to be prone to going wonky when it's on the wall though, at the slightest knock. If you're entering your painting into an art award, you can put a D-ring either side. That's usually what I found that they prefer, because they have a system that just hooks on to each one. What I'm going to do is a wire across the centre, so we'll screw those 2 D-rings in, cut the wire to length and thread it through. Here is my photography setup. I'm showing you how to do it without a tripod because not everyone has one. So my camera is on a stack of books. What you need to make sure is that the lens of your camera is parallel to the painting. So if your painting's on an easel and leaning back slightly, then you probably will need a tripod for your camera just so that it can point directly towards the surface of the painting. I'm using manual mode just so I have a little bit more control. So the aperture here is 3.5. I make sure that it's on 0 for the exposure. If I change that, it's going to be too bright. And if I change it the other way, it's too dark. Sometimes I do take them a little bit darker. We'll see how it goes. You can take a few. And also self-timer so that when I release the shutter, it won't have any camera shake. Another thing I do is have it further back and then zoom in with the lens. So let's do that. Fill the screen as much as I can with the painting. Let's take a photo. There is one more stage that you can do before you varnish, and that is to paint an isolation layer using a medium like this binder medium, which does say on it that you can use it to isolate the painting. It says you can do it so techniques like scratch back, glazing and varnishing can be done safely without accidentally reopening or lifting paint layers. I've never had a problem with that. I don't know anyone who's had a problem with that, so I'm just going to go ahead and varnish. I give a painting at least a day to dry before varnishing, and it's a good idea to wipe off any dust before you start. I give a painting 2 coats of varnish. The first coat I will brush horizontally, and then the second coat the brush marks will go vertically so that the light won't bounce off them. finished painting is now ready to go to Matilda. If you got any value out of this video, please check out the Pitts Family GoFundMe link in the description. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. This was my first video, so I'd love to find out what else you'd like to know.